called The Process. He's here pretty much to let you guys know about the recruiting process, clearinghouse, SAT prep, ACT prep, and much more in the recruiting process that you need to watch out for. Let's give him a round of applause.
First of all, I want to thank Coach Hall and everybody as a member of the Team Florida. This is sort of a big deal for me. This is the first time I've actually, from leaving being a recruiting coordinator at the Division I-A level for the last 8 years, the first time I've actually been out talking to kids. Left my job last week, University of South Florida, Director of Player Personnel. To give you a brief where I've been, what I've done. I was a high school coach for about 10 years, and then had an opportunity to be a graduate assistant in the SEC at Mississippi State. I did that for 2 years. Worked under Jackie Sherrill, who was the first $1 million coach in the history of college football, and then worked under Sylvester Croom, who was the first African-American coach in the history of the Southeastern Conference. I went back to the high school level, went back home to be with my family, my son, who I'd left for a little while in terms of for jobs, and came back into college football as a Director of Player Personnel with that title at North Carolina, Tennessee, Miami, Purdue, Alabama, and South Florida. So it's been a long little haul for me. Sort of the move I've made, guys, is sort of a little unprecedented. You know, a lot of people are outside college football, you know, doing recruiting and helping kids, and then they go try to use that to get there. And what I've done is opposite. I've been at college football for so long, and I've had my teaching certificate for a long time as a PE coach, high school football coach. What I wanted to do was come back and give back. All right, and I talked to a few of you guys before, but to be real with you, there's not many people here to help kids that have the knowledge and the connections that I have. Plain and simple. If they're out there, I'd like to see them. In the last 8 years, I've worked for 7 national recruiters a year, got a national championship, have been a part of 4 classes at 4 different teams in the top 10 in the country, got a recruiting national championship, and I've worked with some unbelievable coaches, all right, in terms of what they do well on that side. But see, the thing is that you're on this side, and you're wanting to be on that side, I hope. Before I even go further, how many of you guys want to go get an education and play college football? Is it 100%? All right, it's 100%, which is good, okay? Which is good. That's enough about me, but I just wanted to be able to tell you where I've been, sort of who I work with, all right? You can tag the years and figure it out. First thing I'm going to talk about, which is hugely important, I'm just going to talk about academics real quick, because if you're the class of 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, all right, the rules have changed, the game's changing. All right, the game is changing. 2.3, 10 cores done by the end of your junior year. They're locked in. The grades are locked in. There's no more replacing grades after that. Let me say that again. There is no more replacing grades after that. So if you're not at the end of your junior year right now, and you got a D, or you got a lot of C's that you need to get those grades up, you better start getting on Florida Virtual and replacing them now. Because you don't want to run into a situation, the sliding scales change in terms of what you have to have for a GPA and what you have to have a core GPA. They're taking all the PEs and all that's out of it. All right? So your core GPA now, the lowest you have to have now, the lowest you can have is a 2.3. Right? Went from a 2.0 to a 2.3. They raised it, raised the bar. And then they took that sliding scale, which depending on if your core is a 4.0, your test score only has to be down here. It's not difficult. But you guys with the GPAs that are down here, your test score is going to be up here. So they're making it more difficult. Now they are going to have a red shirt. They will have guys, if you didn't have the 10 core in math, science, and English, you could still qualify, but you have to redshirt your first year. That's going to be the penalty for the class of 2016. Okay? But at the end of the day, they're making it more difficult. but I'm going to tell you this, and just listen to me. You aren't in this to just qualify. Let me say that again. You aren't in it to just qualify. Because if your GPA is low and your test score is low, I always say this, the amount of schools you can go to is like this. But the better you get at those two things, the world's going to open up to you. From Stanford to every other school in the country. And at the end of the day, all about percentages. Okay? 1.25 million high school football players in America. That's about 300,000 per class. It's 300,000 seniors, 15,000 go ahead, maybe. Let's give or take. 15,000 go ahead. Not earn scholarships, play college football. So you've already just made a hurdle. Then you get into college football, and what happens? 1% make it to the pros. Well, out of that 1% that go to the pros, and don't take this for sure, but I think about 70% of them are done after 3 years and broke. So then you have to fall back on what? Somebody tell me.
Education.
Your education, your degree. All right, so I don't care if you make $10 million in the pros. You make $10 million, Uncle Sam's taking half of it, your agent's taking 5 to 10%, and then you've already bought 10 cars and 2 houses. Well, at the end of the day, when your time's up, you got to remember, pretty much there ain't no guaranteed contracts in the NFL. We're in a sport where it's probably the most difficult to get that deal that's worth something. Not a lot of those guys have them. NBA's different. Major League Baseball's different. Get a 10-year deal, $250 million. You break your leg, you can't play again in baseball, you get all $250 million. In football, they cut you and send you home. Coach, is that right?
Say that again?
Is that right?
What?
In football, you have a contract, it's not guaranteed. All of a sudden you ain't producing, you're cut and you're done.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no more paychecks coming in.
Yes, sir.
Right? This might not be a big deal to you now because of your age, but I'm telling you, it's a big deal. Okay? So, next thing I do want to talk, is everybody clear on those NCAA rules? Well, guys, let me tell you something right now. If you have a test score right now, first of all, if you're a junior and don't have a test score, you better be taking the test, okay? Don't send the test anywhere. Don't send it to a college. Don't send it to your high school. Don't send it anywhere. You can take a test and it be a practice test. No one can find out your information. I'm putting that on dang tape. I'm telling you. Because at the end of the day, some people struggle with it. All right? And you can get better at it. You're not going to send that test score anywhere. Okay? Don't send it anywhere to anyone until you have a score that you are proud of. So that means if you get a score, you ain't proud of it, and it ain't good, then you're going to keep taking these prep courses until you get it to a point where now you can get into 50 more schools. So now you've just broadened that horizon. Everybody straight with me? Did you hear me on that? Okay? All right. What colleges are looking for? Okay? Very simple. This is I can't tell you in just like 15 minutes everything that goes on in this recruiting process. But I can tell you the main thing. Okay? First of all, they're going to look at film. If they like the film, they're going to come see you. All right? What are they looking at when they watch film? Position-specific skills and critical factors. There's about 10 of those per position, and there's about, talking about position-specific skills, and there's about 5 critical factors. Not every school uses that, but it's something I learned from Coach Saban, and it's something I learned from Lane Kiffin, and it's something I learned from Butch Davis. And over time, you start to see what they see, okay? They're going to look at this stuff, and they're going to see it, okay? Then after that, they're going to look simply character and intelligence. Okay, so that's sort of, all right, now they're going to take that, then they're going to take your height, your weight, your speed. And then they have to project you to a position. This ain't basketball. You can be 5'11", you know, bodies grow. And in football, as bodies grow, there's different positions that you fit into based upon your skill level, and your speed. Everything's about speed anyway, all right? But in general, that's how everybody should be looking at you as a whole, okay? Anybody have any questions on that? And after that, they're going to look at intangibles. Intangibles, what's an intangible? Passion for the game, love for the game, good person, good to get along with, coachable, all these other little things. Because make no mistake, they smile at you, hey, how you doing, good, yeah. But you could be acting a certain way when someone you think is not watching, they're watching. So yeah, and you leave away feeling great when they get back in that room and they start talking about ranking guys. Everything comes out in those war rooms. Everything. All right, remember this. College football is a business. Coaches have a job to do. To graduate you and to win games. That's their job. To recruit you, get you in there, to graduate you, and to win football games. If they can't do those things, what happens? What happens to a college football coach who can't do those things? They lose their job. But now they don't have any way to support their families. So make no mistake, on their end, it's a business. All right? So now I'm going to tell you real quick what's important, and this is what some parents don't want to hear. This is what sometimes you guys don't want to hear. But I'm going to tell you. Because what I'm going to tell you is as real as it's going to get. Plain and simple. Find what level you're at first, where you project to, and then then we got to take your academics and figure out where you fit. And I was telling you guys before, are you willing to leave the state? Are you willing to leave the region? Are you willing to travel cross country? If you say yes to all those things, you've just quadrupled the amount of schools that you could possibly be a fit at to go get an education and continue playing the sport that you love. Okay? Understand that. Now, the issue, not all those schools have money to come down to Florida and recruit. Because some of them are 1AA, small budget, some of them Division II, some of them Division III. All right? But that's okay too. I played D2 ball. I loved it. You know why? Because I went and I played. All right, because that's something else. Now, briefly, when talking about it, how many guys right now, raise a hand, have talked to a college coach in the last 3 weeks? All right, good. So you guys that haven't, right now, you have to understand, you're going to have to start cultivating guys to talk to you. Okay, you've got to cultivate it. And to do that, you need help. And even you guys that are talking to college coaches, and this is where I can come in, whether you're not getting recruited or whether you're being recruited, and you're a 5-star, they need advice too. I promise you. Promise. Because at the end of the day, they still don't know what's saying behind those closed doors. Those really, 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 really good teams that are recruiting all those dudes, they still are telling them one thing and reality's another. So let's talk about what helps you make your decision. Whether you have no stars or 5, what's important? Number 1 is to get the best education you can. Okay? Best education you can, matched with a school that you can play at. Because I'm going to promise you this, if you go to a school and you don't play, raise your hand if you go to a college for the next 5 years, you leave out of here, or wherever you're from, in the next 5 years you go to school and you don't play, how many of you would be happy? Not one. Okay? So that's the first thing to find out. Do I have a chance to get on this field? Well, if you're being recruited there, the coach ain't going to tell you whether you're being recruited for depth or whether you're being recruited to come be a starter. He might tell you from there to there, he might tell you in the middle. I'm not saying they lie, I'm just telling you it's difficult. Not many true freshmen that aren't mid-years go into a college football program, especially at the D1A level, and especially in the Power 5 conferences, and play as a freshman. And Joe, we did a study, I believe, for 2 years in the ACC and SEC, every kid that ever signed with them, I believe it was less than 10% participated and less than 5% started a game. Don't hold me on that 100%, but that's close to it. Okay, so now you get into, you're getting recruited, well, how do I make a decision? And who do I rely on for that? So I can go back to you. If you don't get someone like Coach Hall on your side, or you don't get someone that knows exactly what you should be looking at, it blows my mind some sophomores are committed to schools. It's good for the schools. They're doing a great job, and those are really good players. They have no idea what the depth chart's going to look like in 2 years. They don't know if they're going to sign a junior college kid the next year, and he's going to. You don't sign junior college kids to sit on the bench. You sign junior college kids to what? You sign junior college kids to what? Why would they sign a junior college kid? 2 years older than a high school guy. Yeah, they come into play. Someone got hurt. Someone left early for the NFL. They got to have a guy there with experience. So anything can happen in this recruiting process. You can, all right. And then the other thing is an offer comes in. Let's talk about that real quick. Just ask: is it committable? Plain and simple. Is it committable? If they say yes, then you know now you have something. If they say no, we're just offering you to come to camp, or we're just offering you to, we're going to throw out a verbal offer to you. And that's okay too. That's good, because I know what you guys do. You guys go publicize it. It's on Twitter. It's everywhere. It blows up. But at the end of the day, that stuff don't mean nothing, guys. You have to be able to cultivate stuff that's real, know what's real, be honest with yourself, and then at the end of the day, give yourself a fighting chance to be one of those 15,000 out of 300,000 to go and play college football. All right, couple more quick things. Camps and combines. All right, 7-on-7 stuff, all this stuff right here, love it. Compete, surrounded by kids that you don't really, different schools, those different people, all right? You go and compete against other, competition's huge, all right? Competition's huge, and on top of that, playing other sports is huge too. All right, playing other sports and competing on a year-round basis is a big deal for college coaches. But just make sure with the combines, a lot of successful combines out there in the country, and they're everywhere right now. Right now is like the time. Okay, I had asked one individual here. I won't point him out, but I asked him, guess how many college coaches are going to be at that combine you go to next week? And he's like, oh, a lot. And the answer's 0. Because they can't go to them. Okay, so before you go to these things, just make sure you can get something out of it. I will never badmouth any of those things. It's bringing kids together, they're competing, but just make sure for you, this is about you. It ain't about anybody else, it's about you individually. What am I going to get out of by going there? Especially if it costs you money. So what am I going to get out of it? Am I going to get something out of it? If you make that determination that you can get something out of it, then it's good for you. That's great. Okay? But if you make the determination that you can't get something out of it, then you have to make a decision. You're going to go everybody, you're going to go anyway because everybody else is doing it? Or what's good for me right now? What can I get out of this? All right?
Why can't the college coaches go to the
NCAA rules. It's different and fun. And this is another thing. With what I'm doing is like football only. Football is its own breed. They got their own rules. They got their own, it's just its own little world, this football recruiting stuff. Basketball, college coaches can go to all these AAU tournaments. Okay, they can go to them all. They can sit there and watch them. You can go to a tournament where there's like 50 games in a weekend, and every college coach in the country sitting there in the summers watching the game. They can evaluate, because in basketball, what do you wear for a uniform? And what else? What else? Sneakers, right? What do you wear in football in a game? You go to these combines, are you in full gear? No. All right, but you're moving around. It's evaluatable stuff. It sure is. But if there's no one there to watch it, how do they find out about it? All right, so just be careful with it. And I'm not saying anyone's bad or this certain combine. All I'm telling you is look out for yourself and make sure that you can get something out of it. Period. I'm going to personally be involved and some this year, okay? And the people that I hooked up with, they have something that is worth it for kids, and that I'm going to be there. So I hope that I can talk to kids like this and make it worth it for them, okay? And if you do talk to people with these combines and they talk about recruiting, just find out about them first. Find out where that, and if they're not associated fully with the company, I'm the CEO of my company. Everything's going to come through me, everything. 100%. No matter how many people we hire, it's all going to come through me. We're going to make sure that you are evaluated right. You put in the level you want. And I will tell you this. I'm going to get it, and I know I am, but I ain't selling out. It ain't going to happen. Coach, I'm a D1 player. I ain't a 1AA player. I ain't a D2 player. And I'm just going to say, that's fine. There's no problem. I just can't help you. You can ask someone else to help you. Now, if it don't work out for you with someone else, you can always come back to me and I'll help you. Because that's what I want to do. But that's something that I'm not going to bend on. Because I have too many people to make happy. You first, your family, your high school coach, and then the college coaches. No one can be mad at me. Difficult position to be in. But that's okay. I'm going to be ready for it. I'm going to be ready for it. Social media. Just watch it. Just watch it. Alright, watch it. It has to do with character. Watch what you retweet. You cannot do anything and retweet because you think it's funny, and someone sees it and be like, I don't want that kid on my team. You know, simple as that. It could ruin you. One tweet. One. Not like, alright, he does it all the time. One tweet, someone sees it, rubs them wrong, and then you have an issue now with that school, and that was potentially a school that was willing to pay for your college education. Alright, now, schools that are recruiting you, got to form a relationship. Junior days, unofficial visits, official visits, and then I want to talk about camps at colleges. Schools that are showing you attention, that you know that you're a prospect at, alright? Got to go see them. You got to. It's important. It's gonna. You're not the only one they're recruiting at that position. It's a way to separate yourself. Okay? And one way or another, it's going to get separated. Right? Because what you don't want to do is make them think something, and then you get there and you're not what they thought they were, and then you don't play, and then you're not happy. You have to transfer. You're going to sit out a year. What's on the table is on the table. But at the end of the day, that's part of forming a relationship with them. And that's another thing in picking that level. Some of these schools might not be around here. So as you're spending your money to do A, B, and C, I mean, how many got an iPhone or an you know, how many got a nice phone? Pretty much all of you, right? I mean, the dang things are like $600. I mean, $600 for one of these. Are you kidding me? So at the end of the day, I see a lot of nice Nikes, a lot of nice clothes. At the end of the day, just find out what's important to you, okay? Organize your time and organize what is important. If the phone's important, then the phone's important. But if going to see 3 or 4 colleges outside of here, where you'd have to take, outside of Florida, where you'd have to take a little ride, and it's going to cost $150 in gas to get there and back, and $100 for a hotel. Don't have an iPhone in your hand and then say you can't afford it. That don't make sense. That for me, just don't make sense. It don't. So, that's about all I got. I'm going to leave you with this. Anybody that you can rely on for information about this whole to-do, guys, this is way beyond. This is way beyond. You guys have a job. Academics, work your butt off. At the end of the day, all right, everybody hopes that you make it to where. That's why we do what we do. Coach Hall and I, and all the other coaches, why we do what we do is to help you. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. It's on the board, my private account and my company. We're not going to open for a while, all right? But if you need me, all right, if you need me, shoot me a private message. We were at our complex before practice, the Team Florida. and I'll holler at you. You want me to watch a film? You want me to do something? Look, we only been about a week and 2 days have been putting it out there. And I've already talked to probably 50, 60, 70 prospects on top of all these college coaches and pro coaches I'm talking to. So my times are just a little bit limited, but I will find time for you. If I can do anything to help, that's why Coach brought me here. And I want to just quickly, is there any questions? Just if you, I got a couple, Coach got a couple minutes. If any, go ahead.
What if you don't have a Twitter?
I will give you my email.
All right.
You got email, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'll give you my phone number. What else? There's got to be a question to somebody. No one's got one question.
Be scared to ask, guys.
I mean, I'm saying, look, I'm like an open book right now. Anything in recruiting in your mind right now, if you're not getting, you don't have offers, you don't got, there's no question like, what should I do, or what should I do with this, or what should I do with that? Nothing?
What's a decent ACT?
Well, I think starting at a 18 or above, you know, at an 18 or above, but, you know, like I said before, if you can get in, if you're lucky enough to get in that 23 range, you start opening up a lot of schools that have some really good academics, you know, that you'd have a shot at getting into. You know, those schools that have the 23 ACT, and I'm talking about if you're one of their top players. At the end of the day, those are the schools when you leave, you're making 55, 60,000 instead of 35,000. You might not see it now, but you'll see that in a couple of years. And what I'm trying to do is let you know about that. The best academic school you can go to, there are all statistics out there. Just read them. It's very simple to do the research to find out, hey, what's the average salary for someone that graduates from your college? That should be a question from you guys to these college recruiters that are talking to you. They should know that answer. You know, but that's stuff you can find online too as well, guys. Any other questions? Any other questions? All right, I just want to say I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys will contact me if you ever need anything. Please get back to me. Coach, I want to thank you. Appreciate you, Coach. All right. It was really my pleasure to be here, guys, and I wish you guys the best of luck. Again, if you need something, let me know. All right? You guys play games yet? What's your record?
We're ranked fifth right now in 2018.
You out?
Yes, sir.
Good. Good. You guys keep competing, because that's what this is all about. Is to compete, compete, compete. All right, guys, thanks again. I wish you had more questions. I can't believe you didn't have more questions. But if you guys need something, again, let me know.
Josh, no question?
Coach, I got one question, two questions. That's it. That's all right. If you think,
No question?
if you think of something, just let me know.
How can we like get recruited by the pushers besides questionnaires? How can we reach out to them?
Well, that's a good question. Like I was saying inside earlier, schools get between 50 and 300 emails a day with just cold call, here's my email, and then you open it and they attach 25 schools and you can't open up every one of them. So that's a great question. You really need to get a hold of somebody or somebody that knows somebody to get a hold of somebody to get the film watched. Now if it's an in-state school and your high school coach calls them, I'm thinking 85% of the time, it should be 100%, that film should get watched. All right, but if it's an out-of-state school and there's no connection, and a Florida high school coach calls Indiana, I don't know, I just don't know. If there's no connection, if they'll even get through to a coach or what happened, you know, that sort of, but you really need to, that's a lot of what made me do what I do, you know, because of trying to make that match, that when someone sees something from me, that they're like, he's already evaluated him, this fits our level academically and fits our level athletically. And when they open it up, they're gonna watch the film. And the whole point of what I'm doing, the whole point, guys, I walked away from a career on supporting my family. I got 2 kids, I'm married, I got a house that ain't even paid off, none of that. All right, so I got bills. I just walked away, walked out the door. All right, because I'm a true believer. After everything I've seen, that we're in my seat, there are things like that. That's a great question, and that's like 90% of the reason why I'm doing it, because of that. All right, because I'm gonna beat the bushes, and I'm gonna make sure that when they open up that first one I send them, they know it. Wow, this guy's a guy. Well, let me see what it. Oh, he'll leave Florida. Here's all his info. Let me call him. Let me shoot him an email. You know, and I'm gonna try to get them everything. So, really, you're gonna furnish it, and I'm gonna try to get you in that door. And at the end of the day, guys, that's half the battle. It really is, because, guys, there's only 128 Division 1A schools. All right, 128. There's what, 5 in Florida, and then there's a handful below that. But outside of here, there's another world. It's okay to leave to go to that world if it's good for you. It's okay. All right, and here's the last thing. I'm just going to leave you with this. This is it. I never imagined I'd be a part of a national championship team. Never in my life. You know, I have dreams and goals. I guess it never was like, that's what I have to do. But when I finally was on a team that I could say at least I was a part of it for that, that was like, wow. So it's not a bad thing to like reach for the moon. It ain't. But on your way reaching for the moon, there's some other things that you're going to reach into that are pretty good too. And it's not all comparable. And you're going to find out in the NFL draft coming up. Not every guy's from Alabama. They're not. So your goals can still be attained no matter where you go. And at the end of the day, your first goal should be, and your last goal should be to what? When you go to college.
Education.
To graduate. To graduate. Get that in your hand. And now you're way ahead of the game. 22 years old with a degree in your hand, with the ability to go out and support yourself. And then one day, support your family. Period. Be a self-reliable person. That's good in your community. And then one day, hopefully, you'll come back and give back to kids as well. Because to me, that's what it's all about. All right? Any other questions? That's it?
I got a question. As far as quarterbacks go,
Yep.
what are the coaches like from Ohio State or Florida State look for versus maybe somebody from a smaller school like Akron?
I think they're all looking at the same thing, you know, but at the end of the day, what I will tell you...
What differentiates them, you know, from
Well,
getting into a major program?
Everything. Size, mechanics, release, you know, the pop off the ball, you know, does he get the strong arm, mobility in the pocket, vision, instincts, athletic ability, you know, because now you're starting to see a lot more quarterbacks that not only can just drop back and throw it, but can move in around the pocket and come out and make plays. And so, but there's a lot of things, and I think at the end of the day, not I think, I know, with that position, because that position, as we know, sort of controls football. Wherever you see a really good team, they usually got a pretty good quarterback, right? But at the end of the day, they're going to want to see him live. I've never been a part of a Division 1A program that would take a commitment from a quarterback that they hadn't seen, somebody had on that staff hadn't seen live, and they don't have workout videos on them, and because it's such a, you know, it's just a different position, and usually there's going to be long-term relationships, so they get to, you know, character, intelligence are going to come in huge with that, and then once you've seen so many, you know, you can sort of have a comparison level of trying to project. And again, it's not an exact science either. You know, there's a lot of guys that have gone to Ohio State never touched the field for one reason or the other. You know,
I feel like if you have a kid that has all these intangibles for the most part, but doesn't have mechanics, you know, do the schools from the coaches from larger schools think they can coach them up?
well, some of the mechanics they think, you know, and there's different opinions out there. And they say some mechanics they can change and some they can't. And so what ends up happening is you're going to get a varied amount of, you know, people will say, well, we can deal with that, and another coach might say, I can't deal with that. You know, and a perfect example is the quarterback from the Chargers. You know, and I know that Noel Mazzoni, who's a friend of mine, is at UCLA as the offensive coordinator, assistant head coach. He was at was it NC State with him, right? So, but at the end of the day, that, you know, that's the other thing, is the coaches have different everything on the evaluation, and this is the other thing. There's a human deal to it. People, if 5 guys watch one guy, they might have a different valuation on every one of them. And so at the end of the day, that's really not a science either, which can be difficult on you, because then you'll wonder why one team likes you and one team don't. There might be 2 different offenses or defenses, 2 different schemes. They might think about using you in a different position where you may do some good things, and they might look at you in another position where he doesn't do that as well. So sometimes you get into, oh, they offered, they didn't. It's not as simple as that. Okay, so there's guys that South Florida doesn't offer that Central Florida offers, and there's guys that Central Florida offers that South Florida don't offer. All right? You really can't. But at the end of the day, that's a good use for have a chip on your shoulder. You know, when you finally get somewhere to prove people wrong. Any other questions? All right, guys, want to wish you guys all the best of luck. Stay healthy this summer. Work for Coach. And when you do get in with your teams in the fall, stay healthy. Study, and good luck with your seasons. All right? Appreciate it, Coach. Thanks.
I'll give Coach a round of applause.